Hello children, welcome you all once again to my YouTube channel. Today let's read another lesson from your NCERT English textbook, Honeycomb. And the title of the lesson is The Invention of Vita-Wonk. Lesson number 7. Before you read, who are the oldest people you know? Who are the oldest things you have in your house, in your city, town or village? How old are they? Have you ever wished that you were older? Have you wished that you could grow up in a hurry? Now let's read this. Lesson: The Invention of Vita-Wonk. Mr. Willy Wonka begins by inventing Wonka-Wit, which makes people younger, but Wonka-Wit is too strong. So some people disappear because their age becomes minus. One person actually becomes minus 87. Which means he has got to wait 87 years before he can come back. Mr. Willy Wonka must invent a new thing. So this is probably the invention of Vita-Wonk, which Mr. Willy Wonka was looking for. Part 1. Mr. Wonka said, "So once again I rolled up my sleeves and set to work. Once again I squeezed my brain, searching for the new recipe I had to create age, to make people oldest. Ha ha, I cried. For now, the ideas were beginning to come. What is the oldest living thing in the world? What lives longer than anything else? A tree," Charlie said. "Right you are, Charlie. But what kind of a tree? Not the Douglas fir, not the oak, not the cedar. No, my boy. It is a tree called the Bristol corn pine that grows upon the slopes of Willow Peak in Nevada, USA. You can find Bristol corn pines on Willow Peak today that are over 4,000 years old. This is fake, Charlie. Ask any dendrochronologist you like and look that word up in the dictionary when you get home. Will you please?" So that started me off. I jumped into the great glass elevator and rushed all over the world, collecting special items from the oldest living things. A pin-top sap from a 4,000-year-old Bristol corn pine. The toenail clippings from a 168-year-old Russian farmer called Petrovich Grigorovich. An egg laid by a 200-year-old tortoise belonging to the king of Tonga. The tail of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia. The whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called Crumpets. An old flea which had lived on Crumpets for 36 years. The tail of a 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet. The black teeth of a 97-year-old grimalkin living in a cave on Mount Popocatépetl. The knuckle bones of a 700-year-old cataloo from Peru. Comprehension check. Choose the right answer. Remark number 1. Mr. Willy Wonka is A cook, B. an inventor, C. A manager. Mr. Willy Wonka is an inventor. Option B is the correct answer. Roman number 2. Wonka which makes people A. older, B. younger. Option B, younger, is the correct answer. Roman number 3. Mr. Wonka wants to invent a new thing which will make people A. younger, B. older. Option B, older, is the correct answer. Can anyone's age be a minus number? What does minus 87 mean? According to the story, according to Mr. Willy Wonka, it is possible. Yes, one's age can be a minus number. Minus 87 means that he or she would have to wait 87 years before he or she can be born again. Question number 3. Mr. Wonka begins by asking himself 2 questions. What are they? Roman number 1. What is the oldest living thing in the world? Roman number 2. What lives longer than anything else? Part 2. Let's continue with the lesson. All over the world, Charlie. Mr. Wonka went on. I tracked down very old and ancient animals and took an important little bit of something from each one of them. A hair or an eyebrow or something. It was no more than an ounce or 2 of the jam scraped from between its toe while it was sleeping. I tracked down the whistle pig, the bobolink, the scroc, the polyfrog, the giant curlicue, the stinging slug, and the venomous squircle who can spit poison right into your eye from 50 yards away. But there's no time to tell you about them all now, Charlie. Let me just say quickly that in the end, after lots of boiling and bubbling and mixing and testing in my inventing room, I produced one tiny cupful of oily black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa volunteers to see what happened. What did happen? Charlie asked. It was fantastic, cried Mr. Wonka. The moment he swallowed it, he began wriggling and shriveling up all over, and his hair started dropping off, and his teeth started falling out, and before I knew it, he had suddenly become an old fellow of 75. And thus, my dear Charlie, was Vita-Wonk invented. Roald Dahl, from Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Walking with the text. What trees does Mr. Wonka mention? Which tree does he says lives the longest? Mr. Wonka mentioned Douglas fir, oak and cedar tree. According to him, bristlecone pine lives the longest. How long does this tree live? Where can you find it? Bristlecone pine tree can live for more than 4,000 years. It is found on the slopes of Willow Peak in Nevada, USA. How many of the oldest living things can you remember from Mr. Wonka's list? Don't look back at the story. Do you think all these things really exist, or are some of them purely imaginary? Children can try to give these answers by themselves. And personally, I think most of these things are purely imaginary. Number 3. Why does Mr. Wonka collect items from the oldest things? Do you think this is the right way to begin his invention? Mr. Wonka collected items from the oldest things to invent a new medicine that would make the young old. I don't think this is the right way to invent something new. What happens to the volunteer who swallows 4 drops of the new invention? What is the name of the invention? After taking 4 drops of the new medicine, the volunteer begins wrinkling. His hair starts dropping off, his teeth start falling out. He suddenly becomes an old man of 75. The name of the invention is Vita-Wonk. Working with language. What do you call these insects in your language? Cockroach, mosquito, grasshopper, housefly, dragonfly, ant. How do these insects affect your health? Have a discussion in the class. You can try this yourself. Fill in the blanks in the receipt given below with words from the box. Shred, cooker, thyme, tomatoes, half, onion oil. Easy palak dal. Ingredients. One onion, 1 cup dal, 2 thin green chilies, half a teaspoon red chili powder, 8 small bunches of palak, 2 tomatoes, salt to taste. Wash and cut the vegetables. Shred the palak. Put everything in a pressure cooker. Let the cooker whistle 3 times. Then switch it off. Fry a few cumin seeds in oil and add to the palak dal. Is a family tree. Okay, a family tree is a diagram that shows the relationship between the different members of a family. Fill in the family tree below with names, ages, and other details you think are relevant. You may even stick photographs. If you have them, put your family trees up in the class. Students can try this by themselves. It's a fun exercise. Moving on. Speaking. Using do for emphasis. Charlie asked, what did happen? This is a way of asking the question, what happened, with emphasis. Given below are a few emphatic utterances. Say them to your partner, let your partner repeat your utterance without the emphasis. Your partner may also add something to show she or he disagrees with you. You, I did study. Partner, you studied. I don't believe you. Look at your marks. The conversation goes, you, I did go there. Partner, you went there. Then, I do play games. Partner, You play games. Look at your health. You. He does read his books. He reads his books. Look at his vocabulary. You do say the most unbelievable things. I say the most unbelievable things. What a joke. The earth does spin around. The earth spins round. Do you feel it? We all do want you to come with us. You all want me to come with you. Look at me dress. Who does know how to cook? Who knows how to cook? Look at the chapatis he made. Who knows how to cook? Look at the chapatis he made. I do believe that man is a thief. You believe that man is a thief. Look at his innocent face. Next exercise is writing. Make a list of the trees Mr. Wonka mentions. Where do these trees grow? Try to find out from an encyclopedia. Write a short paragraph about 2 or 3 of these trees. You can mention bristlecone pine, which is the oldest. Some other large trees commonly found in your area. Find out something about them. How old are they? Who planted them? Do birds eat their fruit? And write 2 or 3 sentences about each one of them. Find out something interesting about age or growing old and write a paragraph about it. Following are a few topics suggested as examples. The age profile of the country's population. Does it have more young people than old people, or vice versa? What are the consequences of this? How can we tell how old a tree, a horse, or a rock is? What is the life expectancy of various living things and various populations? How long can they reasonably expect to live? These children need to do a little research on their own, their locality, or he or she can ask or take help from your parents, your elders. Delivery delay. Answer on page 125. Okay, let's just read this for fun. When the postman arrived at the Roy household to deliver the mail, he was surprised to find a new vicious dog. The dog was fastened to a tree by a leash just long enough to reach the front door. The dog growled and bared its teeth, but the postman managed to outwit the dog and reach the front door safely. How? That's an interesting question. Just give it a thought, and you will find the answers on page 125 of your textbook. Now let's just have a quick revision of the whole story. A lot of things is going on with little description. So this story, Invention of Vita-Wonk, is an excerpt from the story The Charlie and the Great Elevator, written by Roald Dahl. See, The Invention of Vita-Wonk is a funny story which talks about the various inventions created by an imaginative scientist, Mr. Willy Wonka. Wonka Wit was a drug created by Mr. Willy Wonka that could make people younger. However, this drug was so strong that it could make people young to an extent that they could even disappear by the reversal of their age in minors. Therefore, Mr. Wonka had to invent a new medicine. He began by thinking of the oldest living thing in the world, the thing that had lived longer than anything else. He came to the conclusion that the bristlecone pines had lived longer than anything else. After collecting materials from the oldest tree, he began by collecting special items from all the oldest living things of the world to develop the new medicine. He tracked down very old animals. He took a little bit of different things from many old things to make the new medicine that would make him the young old. After a few processes of boiling, bubbling, mixing and testing, he produced a small quantity of oily black liquid. He gave 4 drops of it to a 20-year-old volunteer, Oompa Loompa. On taking the medicine, Oompa Loompa began to wrinkle. His hair started to fall off. His teeth too started falling out. In no time, he became an old man of 75. It was the result of the new invention of Mr. Willy Wonka, which came to be known as Vita-Wonk.